Creating dynamic sketches. How can we continue to improve as artists to try new things, expand our drawings, and make them a bit better than the last drawing? Well, how about conveying bold movement? In this video, I'm going to share some tips on how to add this so-called movement, as it's been a popular question here on the channel. Believe it or not, the supplies you use will help you convey movement. Bigger brushes, maybe brush pens, adding texture, and expressive bold marks will all contribute to that. So it's important that you experiment. So let's experiment together. I've never really done this, but I'm going to take a large brush to create lots of movement with this brush, mix in some paint, and we're going to add this into the background of our sketch. And I'm going to do this for two reasons. One, to create movement, and two, to get rid of that blank page and just try something new. Another factor that contributes to movement is subject matter. Here's a reference that I found that I'll be referring to the drawing for today. There's energy, there's movement, many little complexities to play with, and there's also an opportunity to give it a story. Sometimes I like to incorporate a little bit of a sketch under my ink, as I find it creates more movement as well, helps me loosen up, and seeing the pencil show through creates an interesting mark. Plus, since I plan to create a finished drawing, this will just be a nice little reference point for myself. Drawing with certain supplies allows us to create more contrast. So when you're using black ink, you have the opportunity to fill in more shapes a bit darker and have that work much more contrast against lighter tones. This actually creates a different aspect of movement of the eyes around the paper. That balance of the dark versus light and a high contrast will gauge the eye around your drawing, giving the viewer an appealing feel to your drawing. Our eyes gravitate towards simplicity and things that are just visually pleasing. So when we do our best to increase the contrast in our drawings, visually, our eyes will actually register it a bit better, making it easier to understand, process, and that much more appealing. Although I had a reference I was basing off of, I was also playing around with continuous lines, trying to make the line my own and still creating some more of my personality in my sketch. Although the girl is on the horse, I still began drawing the horse itself since it's our main source of movement here, which is the intention for this drawing. And it's all connected, so think about that when you dig deeper into the meaning of your drawing. Allow the flow state to reveal things to you. Something that I've also been experimenting lately is just shading in something that is more further behind, completely black in shadow. And this not only allows me to push the boldness and not be afraid to do so, it also allows me to push the contrast, which then makes it that much more visually appealing to the eye. Sometimes creating movement can mean making fast, bold marks, and sometimes it can actually mean to slow down and curate that beautiful line that you want to have in your drawing. So take your time and feel into what feels right for you in the moment. Find your rhythm in this delicate dance. Take a look at your subject and find elements that have the most movement. Whether it's the hair, maybe it's a gesture if you're doing a figure, maybe it's the pose itself of whatever you're studying, and then feel into that movement and exaggerate it a little bit when it comes to making your line work. So apart from making various lines, you also want to focus on finding cool shapes. Both come hand in hand. And while I add more shapes, a quick word from our sponsors, Squarespace. When it comes to adding cool shapes, this is all about experimenting as well and creating more variety. And I also apply this to when I'm building my website. I've built my website with Squarespace, and this is the all-in-one platform for you to hold your shop, build your portfolio, and your online presence. Their award-winning templates allow you to create as much movement and variety as you wish, with a lot of space to customize to your liking. I love how versatile and user-friendly it is, and if you need some help, they've got 24/7 customer support. Immense gratitude for also supporting the channel. Give it a try by going to squarespace.com to try your free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/JessCarp for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. After I got the main shapes down of the horse itself and a little bit of movement there, it's time to form out the girl that's riding the horse and create some movement for her too. I switched into a little chisel tip of a micron, and this allows me to also create some interesting shapes. So I'm just experimenting with different supplies, and the different tips allow me to create some new shapes, new movements, and of course different little line works. I like to tune into what feels intuitive in the moment, so I decided to keep a little bit more of a simplistic kind of portrait for her, and then I really wanted to play around with the movement and design of the flow of the hair, something I really love to do in my sketchbooks and in my artwork, and really push that every single time I draw to see what I can come up with next. Things will come to you in the moment, and while I was drawing this, I had this idea to add a dark black shape behind her, conveying even more movement and separating her from the background, and then this. Yep, sometimes just one element like that can help with movement. If you've been subscribed to the channel, you know that with every drawing, I always take some time to curate the last strokes and bits of details and just finish up and complete it as a whole. Here I basically go through the whole drawing and close in some shapes, maybe add some more interesting shapes, unify some lines so that everything is flowing cohesively all together. And at this point, I also take some time to reflect on the drawing that I made, see what I love about it and some things that I tried that were new, and just give myself credit that I showed up to the page, that I even made a drawing, and that I pushed myself out of my comfort zone. So just a gentle reminder for you to perhaps do the same. And then once it's complete, it's time to just soak it all in. So without further ado, enjoy the final reveal.